Hi everyone, welcome to day 41 of Adorned with Dignity. Today we're talking about more obstacles. And it starts out and it says, my parents or my in-laws won't be so excited with my new look. And so it says, sometimes the husband and the wife are in agreement and they're ready for her to upgrade her level of covering the hair, but they're afraid that either his or her parents won't be happy about it. And a couple once came to Harav Yosef Shalom Elishev Shlita with this question. The wife, with the encouragement of her husband, was ready to upgrade the level of recovering her hair, but she was afraid of what her in-laws would say about it. The Rav's answer was precise and clear. It is not a valid reason to refrain from upgrading in this area. Parents cannot meddle. Parents cannot meddle. Parents cannot meddle into this matter and tell you how to conduct yourself. This is a matter of halakha. So this is a big issue, and it's not just with tznuis, right? Meddling in-laws, meddling parents. Bezrat Hashem, I won't be one of those. I pray with his help. I really pray with his help. I will not be one of those. But the truth is that even I myself have had to, had a bout at the rodeo with that. And I find that once my husband understood, please do not, this is not an FYI moment with your mother. And once we got past that, we got past it very early on. I got to tell you that our marriage was very successful, and that just doesn't go to just your parents. It also goes to your friends. I think that when problems come up, if everyone is involved in them, the problem is that everyone has an opinion about it. Okay. And, everyone's having a problem having their own life, get it together in their own life, let alone give you advice on yours. But there's this great, I think it went out like 2 years ago, and it was a great little, I can't remember what the word for is it, but I'm going to try to post it onto the video stream of this class. And it said, "Dear mother-in-law, don't teach me how to raise my children. I'm living with one of yours and he needs a lot of improvement." So that's kind of the sentiment that, a lot of people have. I think, in truth though, there is nothing wrong with taking, a solicited advice from people. But sometimes I think we tend to go too far with our advice, and we tend to just, make it do as I say, never mind that I don't do what I say. I think that's the problem of this generation. We're so involved with other people's business and what's going on. And I think that if a couple can keep that private, it makes everything they go through, whether it's financial, whether it's problems with the children, chas v'shalom, problems in their marriage, chas v'shalom, that they can weather the storm quicker, because it's almost like everyone else who you told is also taking a position and they become offended, and then you got to ease over their feelings about it. And it's really none of nobody's business. I think the only time that someone else should be involved is when you have to bring a Rav involved, because you're at an impasse and you just can't make headway with it. So it continues on. It says, it's not as simple for a woman to improve her head covering when her parents or in-laws are not supportive of the change. Yet she should remember that the most often they will come to respect her and her devotion to this mitzvah. And moreover, since strengthening oneself in the mitzvah of tznuis is the most powerful segula for good children, they will be grateful for the joy and nachas they will reap Bezrat Hashem from her righteous and praiseworthy children. So it's really funny, because my husband is he's really, when it came to his side of the family, he's really come in before I can even give an explanation, and at this point we're all past it. They've all accepted it. Let me just tell you, they've all accepted it. And it was funny because in the beginning, I would get ready to give the explanation. He said, "That's right. Her hair is for me and her handshake is for me. Thank you." So, and it just shut them down. So I was very grateful, for that chivalrous moment. But like my uncle's wife always says, everyone will become accustomed to everything. And we see this in the society, because things we would have thought would have never been acceptable, we see that they're greatly accepted now, much to our detriment. So, this is no different. Everyone does become accustomed to everything. But this next one, I can tell you, I can speak so greatly about this next topic. And it says, I will lose out by upgrading the level of covering my hair. And it says the Yetzirah tries to convince a woman that she will lose out by performing the will of Hashem. He will try to dissuade her by telling her that her friend's neighbor's boss workmates, etc., will look down at her, or that she will have a hard time finding shidduchim for her children. And I want to add that a lot of women think that they will not be able to get a job as well. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And it says, let us remember the teaching of it cannot be that a person will listen to me, meaning Hashem, and lose out. As Shlomo Melech teaches in Koheles, one who performs the mitzvah, no harm will befall him. Every person who believes in Hashem trusts these holy words. In truth, when someone does what is correct in Hashem's eyes, others will inwardly admire his strength and sense of conviction. So now, it kind of ends up with a few stories, but I'm going to just tell you my story, my personal story. Now, everyone at this point knows you live in a secular society where there's a lot of Jews, but not too many are frum. We know. Okay, so we got that down. So let me just tell you that when my husband converted and we ended up getting married, I was working at Bloomberg, right? That's one of the most, prestigious companies in the world. And literally overnight, because I think I got married like on a Tuesday night. And so literally overnight, I had to make this change. And my job was such that it was very media driven, and I was in the courthouse very often. And part of my job was these relationships. So this was the biggest test I think that most people will ever go through, because your whole job is dependent on, the success of your relationships and what people, it's putting on that perception, which, I've said it in before, whatever people perceive of you, that is their reality, even though it could be further from the truth. But you have to really have this good relationship. This is really all about PR. And here I'm coming the next day. Now, mind you, I was already tznuis, so that was already down, right? And I've told many people, I'm not for the Quaker Oats schlampadinka look. That's just not for me. And if you're in a community, and that's not to say that any community looks like a schlampadinka, but if you're in a community that has a certain look, and that's the acceptable mean hag hamakon, that's fine. If your husband likes that, that's fine. I was just brought up in a different kind of error. And there is, I think what a lot of women struggle with tznuis is that I think they have to look like their grandmothers, and that they can't venture out and make tznuis their own. But I think the problem is that they don't know what the boundaries are and the guidelines. Now, mind you, my Rav is a Haredi Rav, and he's gone out of his way to praise how tznuis I look. In fact, there's been other rabbanim in his area who also have commented on it. And so I think you can make tznuis your own if you know what the guidelines are. That doesn't mean that every time you walk into a Michael's court that everything is no good. There could be certain items out of the line that can be in line with tznuis, and you can make it tznuis. That doesn't mean that everything is permissible either. You have to, really know what the guidelines are, and you have to know what the boundaries are. But I digress. So I'm going in, literally the next day, and I remember being terrified and going off the elevator and saying, Hashem, it's just you and me. It's just you and me. Everything else is just illusion. It's just you and me. Anything that anyone says to me and everything that comes my way is coming from you. Please help me to remember that should anything come up. And it was funny because immediately right away, I get off the elevator and I'm actually going to the law library, and the librarian greets me and she goes, "Oh, wow, I love your scarf." And I was like, "Oh yeah, and I told her, and I said, I'm really, I'm going to be, wearing this and really sticking to it. And she goes, "Wow, looks so stylish." And then she kind of turns me around. She's like, "Wow, I'm thinking I might do it myself." So you see, people don't always, I think again, because this whole thing of perception is reality. If we perceive that people are going to treat us bad, then somehow that became the reality in our mind. But I got to tell you that since then, Bloomberg actually closed the division. And, I've had to do contracts now until I find really, what it is that I want to go into next. And I've been doing contracts in the interim. And so this has been the greatest test of this, because for the last almost year and a half, I've been doing these contracts. And so you're always in a new location for a period of time. And of course, you always have to bring up the whole, first of all, they got to interview you first, and when you're going over the contract, and to see before they even present you the contract. And every single one that I've gone to, they've all said that I was their favorite person for the job. And in fact, that there have been some people who have come back, and, so there goes that right there. But I think more than that, when you get into the day to day, so you've passed all the interview section, you've told the male counterpart that you can't shake his hand, you've already come in with your tichel, so he already knows exactly what he's dealing with. And so I've gone over, I've got a very funny schedule. I take all the Jewish holidays off. I leave early for Friday. We've got all that out. And I tell them, even though, at least here in Connecticut, in the United States, technically that conversation, if he were to bring it up, it would be illegal. He cannot bring it up. But I tell them right off the bat, I want you to know what you're dealing with. So so you're informed. And every single one says, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So then what happens when you come in to the job at that point, people are curious, right? The first question they ask is, are you a Muslim? Really annoys me. It annoys me because they don't even equate tznuis with Judaism. They really, and if they think about it, they think, well, how come some people are covering with a wig? And that becomes the other one. But I think more than that even people that just didn't know, because, we talked about in the Behind the Curtain series about people wanting to present what their attributes are up front. But I think that, what ends up happening is that people, they come up to you, and I think they don't, maybe some do and maybe some don't. And that depends on their personality of how they're going to approach you and this new situation they find themselves in. And I find that people, because you're already shrouded in all this mystery, they really take the time at that point to get to know you. And then what ends up happening, and it's happened every time, I'm finishing up this new contract, I think in another 6 days. And it's already happening where people are saying, they literally saying that when you leave, the light of this office will be gone. I mean, that's an amazing statement. These people who had all kinds of preconceptions and notions, they had the chance and ability to get to know me for who I was, not for my beautiful hair, not for my, not for wearing excessive makeup or for having, my body revealed to them. They had to really get to know me. And it was so incredible, because I had women who didn't even know me for all that long, and they were telling me such deep things and wanting to know my opinion. And so it's very interesting what happens. And in truth, Hashem does protect you whenever you're doing His will. It is only a blessing to you. So I really encourage women, don't make that your narrative. Don't make that your narrative. Just because someone else is telling you that, because they did not have, I think for all the chutzpah we have in this generation, we don't have the chutzpah to stand up for ourselves. And because we, whoever's telling you that probably has lost the battle with the Yetzirah, has v'shalom. And the Yetzirah has managed to convince them that they cannot be successful in this. So now they're going to tell you this. Don't buy that, Habibi. Go and take the fact that Hashem, there is nothing but Hashem, and everything is coming from Hashem, and that doing His will only be a blessing to you. And you will find, you're going to quickly find, you're going to pull back that curtain, you're going to see there's nothing but a little man there giving you a false narrative. So may we all have the koyach and strength to stand up for ourselves and to stand up for Yiddishkeit and what we believe in. And that's it for today, and I hope we'll all be together again soon. B'ezrat Hashem.